Welcome again to a new video. Today, I'm going to tell you a different story. Different from the previous ones. One of the classic series called The Twilight Zone, which is characterized by the fact that all its episodes are scattered and different. And whenever one of the people talks about it, he mentions the best episode in it, which is The Eye of the Beholder. In this video, we will watch the events of this strange story, and we will find out what those bandages are hiding. Let's get started. In a dark house, we find Janet, the heroine of the story, lying on a hospital bed, with her head completely wrapped in bandages. Meanwhile, the nurse came into Janet's room and told her that it was time for her to take her sleep medication. Janet, who could not see anything, innocently asked her, "Is it night?" She hasn't seen anything but darkness since she came to this hospital. She has missed seeing the outside world, so she does not see anything other than complete darkness. And she asked the nurse, "Was it nice today? Was the sky clear or cloudy?" After the nurse answered her questions, Janet asked her again, saying, "When are the doctors going to remove all these bandages from my face? And how long has it been for the operation to finish?" The nurse replied that her face will remain covered with bandages until the doctors decide whether her face can be repaired or not. Janet began to remember how since she was born, she had a disfigured face. How people are disgusted by just watching how ugly it is, and how they shift their gaze to the other side as soon as their eyes meet with hers. As well as young children running scared and screaming at what they see. Janet began to cry, and told the nurse that she did not want to be beautiful, nor that people like her, and that the only thing she wanted was for her figure to become normal. Meanwhile, the nurse tried to calm the situation, and told her that they would remove the bandages soon, and they would probably find that her face was no longer ugly. Not anymore. When Janet fell asleep, the nurse told the doctor her report. She started talking to one of the other nurses. The latter asked her if she had seen the patient's face before it was completely bandaged. She assured her that she had seen it, and added that if she had been carrying the same ugly face as her, she would have buried herself alive. A new day has arrived, in which we see the doctor taking the report from the nurse, approaching Janet, and telling her that they will remove the bandages from her face soon. Janet asked him about the possibility that there was a hope that her face would become normal. The doctor replied to her that the deformity she endured was very difficult, which made them unable to perform plastic surgery on her. And at the moment there is no response from her to any of the drugs they gave her. There is one of the drugs we are working on, and it is likely to be the cause of your treatment. The main problem is that this is Janet's last attempt. The country where she lives allows people with deformities to be treated in hospitals 11 times. If the treatment does not succeed during these attempts, then the state takes measures against the mutilated person. And Janet is unlucky, because that's the last time she's left. The doctor tried to calm her down, and told her that the state had made laws in her favor, and that it gives another chance for different people to be cured and become normal. Janet asked him, "What would happen if my operation didn't work?" The doctor answered her, "Without any evasion, many other people carry a deformity like yours, and the state has allocated them a special place to live. If your operation does not work, then the state will put you with the rest in that place, where you will live with other people who are not different from you, and then you won't feel different again." Janet began to cry, and told him that this place he was describing to her would be like a prison, a place isolated from society, in which she would not be free, and she would be forced to live in an isolated place like a prison. She began to demand that he allow her to live among normal people, and promised him that she would hide her face with a mask, and would not disturb anyone. The doctor tried to tell her that the state would not allow this to happen. Janet got angry, and said to him, "Who gave the state the right to determine who is normal and who is not? Who has the right to live and who doesn't? The state has no right to punish a person for being a deformed child." Janet went into hysterics, which made the doctor give her medicine to calm down, after the nurses grabbed her. In the next scene, we see the nurse consoling the doctor, and telling him that he has done everything he can to help Janet. The doctor replied, "Do you know what worries me the most? It's when I tried to watch her real face, without paying any attention to her deformed skin and bones. I found out that she is a human, like any other human. The only difference is that she's looking different." The nurse told him that she understood his intention. But for her, when she looked at her face, she did not feel that the person in front of her was a human being. The doctor told her, "What is the cause of this feeling? What is the real difference between a beautiful person and an ugly one? Is it not the right of people to be different from each other?" And here, when the doctor began to ask such questions, the nurse stopped him and told him to be careful, so as not to be heard, so that they would frame him for high treason. The doctor took her advice and fell silent. Finally, the promised day comes. On this day they will remove the bandages from Janet's face, to find out whether the treatment fixed her face or not. The doctor and nurses surround Janet, and tell her that she should remain still and not move. The doctor began to remove the bandages, and little by little, Janet began to see the light. And a little later she began to see the shadow of the doctor and the nurses. The bandages will finally be removed from Janet's face, and we'll see if the treatment worked, or if Janet's face is still disfigured. Before the doctor removed the last layer of bandages, he told Janet to keep in her mind that even if the treatment did not work, she could continue her life among people who look like her. The doctor proceeded to remove the last layer, and the nurses behind him are waiting for the result with impatience. The moment when the doctor removed the last layer, the scissors fell from his hand when he saw the disaster. And you hear him at that moment saying, "There is no change." The nurses are the others, and as soon as they see Janet's face they look away. Janet raised her face. Finally we are watching her ugly face. She started screaming when she found out that her face remained the same and was not treated. Janet tried to escape from the hospital, but the doctor and nurses caught her. Meanwhile, one of the nurses turned on the room lamp. This is the room that remained dark throughout the whole episode. And here we discover for the first time the faces of the doctor and the nurses. They were all holding the same face. A nose like a pig's nose, and a spherical face. Big lips, and eyes surrounded by black. Janet managed to escape from them, and ran out of the room. And here, we are watching in the corridors of the hospital, where televisions with the president of the country in which they live, and he is engaged with them. The moment when Janet was running through the corridors, she heard the speech, in which he was saying that all people should be the same. We shouldn't allow anyone to be different. We must have one goal. We should believe in one belief. We should have one opinion, one concept of morality, one philosophy, one point of view. We must remove any different person as a cancer. Our society must have one standard that we all comply with. Janet tried to escape from the hospital, but they caught her. Finally, she found herself in a room with another ugly person like her. And then where the doctor told her that the name of this other deformed person is Smith. And he came from the place where the deformed people live, to take her with him. The doctor came out and left Janet accompanied by Smith. The latter tried to reassure her, and told her that she would like the place he would take her to, so that she would find many other people similar to them, and would never feel different again. Janet asked him, "Why are we like this? Why our figure is not normal?" Smith told her that he didn't know the answer, but he believed that it doesn't matter, and that there was an ancient wisdom that said, "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder." Smith advised Janet to remember the wisdom well, and bring it back into her mind. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Janet finally accepts her fate, and she is discharged from the hospital with Smith, so that they can go together to the place where she will complete the rest of her life. And now, the questions that come to our minds are, where is this place? And when? What kind of world where ugliness is normal, and beauty is the opposite? Do you want an answer? The answer will not make any difference, because the wisdom well happens to be true. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholders, whether it is now, or even 100 years later. whether it is on this planet, or in any other place teeming with human life, maybe far from the stars. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholders. This is a lesson we learned in the Twilight Zone. The episode that includes this story is the 6th episode of the 2nd season of the Twilight Zone series, in which we see a girl so deformed and ugly that the people around her cannot bear to see her face. And at the end of the episode, it becomes clear to us that this girl is beautiful. At least for us. But those around her are ugly. But despite that, they see that their shape is natural and beautiful. And they see that Janet is ugly. In addition, the country in which the story takes place is ruled by a dictator, who does not want anyone to be different in the country. A different person is forced to undergo many operations to become like the rest. And if all the operations fail, they send him to a place isolated from society, such as a concentration camps. Janet's treatment was unsuccessful. She was isolated from society, and the episode ended with beauty being in the eyes of the beholders. The theme of the story is not talking only about beauty, but about any difference that allows one person to exclude another just because he is different from him. That one's race is different from ours, cut off his head. That one's color is different from ours, send him out of the country. That one's religion is different than ours, we will not deal with him. That one speaks the language of the East, and we do speak the language of the West, so don't talk to him. And you will find the rest of the differences hidden under the iceberg. All the conflicts we are witnessing now are caused by differences that man has not been able to overcome to this day. This is our history, and we are its owners. That's all we have today. Take care.
She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. I said, don't mind, but what do you mean? I am the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She says, I am the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She told me her name was Billie Jean. She caused the scene. Then every head turned with eyes a dream of being the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She says I am the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. And people always told me, be careful who you love. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts. Your mama always told me, be careful who you love. Be careful what you do, 'cause love becomes a true. Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who said I am the one. The kid is not my son. For 40 days and for 40 nights, love was on the side. Who can stand when she's in demand? Her schemes and plans. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She says I am the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She told me, baby, we'll dance to 3. She looked at me, showed me a photo of a baby. His eyes were like mine. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. She says I am the one. 'Cause we dance on the floor in a round. And people always told me, be careful who you love. Don't go socks. She came and stood beside me with the smell of her perfume. It happened way too soon. Then she called me to her room. Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who says that I am the one. The kid is not my son. She says I am the one. The kid is not my son. Billie Jean is not my lover. Billie Jean is not my lover. Billie Jean is not my lover. Billie Jean is not my lover.